Two corridor guys, Schumann here. 5 months ago, the Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers fought over which team got to keep the game ball. Now they'll fight over a spot in the East semis. Good stuff, Shu. Incredibly, this is the first playoff meeting between the two Central Division rivals in 24 years. That said, they've already played 5 times this season. They already had a series this year. Indy took it 4-1. One of those wins coming in Vegas. All of those games a whole long time ago. And we know the whole Giannis factor here that will not be playing at least in Game 1 on the weekend. What's one thing to watch?
Game 1, probably Game 2, and Game 3 without Giannis. Somewhere in that realm, it feels like. So there's going to be a lot on Damian Lillard's shoulders offensively for this team. And I wonder how Andrew Nembhard, who's going to get physical with him, and Aaron Nesmith, who will also get physical with him, are going to play Damian Lillard, because Damian Lillard has not been himself recently. His numbers have not been good, and with rules allowing defense to be more physical in the playoffs, allowing defense to be more physical, I wonder how Dame is going to play. He also has an injured groin. He missed practice this week. And you could say, well, this team made the finals a few years ago with Brooke and Chris and Beverly, but those guys, I say Brooke and Chris, and then Beverly has joined because they're all old. I mean, I'm pointing out the old guys here because it's really on Dame. I think a lot of this is on Dame. The Pacers are going to focus on him. So if he's huge in this series, then that favors the Bucks. But I'm not sure how good he'll be considering what he's been recently.
It's Dame time versus Hallie hour, completely. Who's tapping the wrist at the end of this series? Because you mentioned it, Dame has been struggling. 39% from the field, 28% from 3 his last 5 games. But the wins the Bucks have during this season without Giannis, Dame went crazy. 37-13 against Toronto, 41-4 against the Clippers, 31-16 against the Suns, 29-9 against Orlando. That Raptors team, they were still trying. So those are actually 4 pretty solid wins where Dame was really performing well, but he's got to be able to throw it back. I think Halliburton is a question mark as well. 19-10 in his last 7 games, shooting 35% from 3, which is great because he's only 30% from the three-point line since the All-Star break. He's kind of lost the step to the side 3, which is his go-to move that allows him to attack inside. So I think if the Bucks are going to win this, they've got to get Dame from Portland, basically, because they got to hit some threes in this series. Indiana allows the fewest per 100 possessions in the entire league. They just really take away three-pointers, and you can score inside easily. Right. But the Bucks, they're a three-point shooting team. They make the 5th most in the league. So Dame's going to have to get hot. We're going to have to see some Malik Beasley time, which is scary to put that guy out there defensively. But in some of these games, he's been scoring 30 alongside Dame in those wins. Portis has to have a decent series, and maybe AJ Green, with his funky release, knocks down some shots. The Bucks got to be able to hit from outside.
Yeah, and you said, the Pacers give up a ton of points in the paint. Well, they're going to be missing Giannis. The Bucks are a guy, I think, leads the league in points in the paint. That's a whole lot usually from him. So who will be scoring in there if the Pacers do a good job of trying to take away the three-point from a lot of those shooters that you said? Do you have an X factor in this 3-6 matchup?
Well, you mentioned Bobby Portis. Bobby, to me, has been able to come in when Giannis has been out of the rotation, and he's been awesome. He averaged 20 and 10 in the 9 games Giannis didn't play this season. 20 and 10. He will be defending Pascal Siakam, who has not played in that 5-game series against the Milwaukee Bucks as a member of the Indiana Pacers because he came over late after that. He's new to this matchup. He had some good games against the Milwaukee Bucks. It has been a couple years since he did that with the Toronto Raptors. But that was also against Giannis and Brooke in a 4-5. So how Bobby Portis defends him at the 4 is going to interest me because Pascal could be asked to do a lot with Halliburton's situation. He may not be himself. Pascal Siakam has won a ship. He has been a guy who can be a really good supporting player in the playoffs. So Pascal versus Bobby is going to be interesting for me because Bobby's just, he rips off the Band-Aid and goes at it, both physically and offensively without Giannis out. So that's big. It's big for the Bucks, and we'll see how Pascal can handle that.
I think Brook Lopez is a basically for the same reason. I think he's the X factor for Milwaukee, and specifically getting Miles Turner into foul trouble. Because if you have to go into the Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson range, you're feeling good if you're Milwaukee, even with Giannis out. I just flashed back to Game 5 against Atlanta. Giannis busts up his knee, looks like he's done for, looks like the Hawks are maybe getting into the NBA Finals, and Brook Lopez goes out, puts up 33 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 blocks. He dominated the Hawks inside that series. That was 3 years ago. I mean, that's a lot has changed.
It's all these old guys on the Bucks. We're just like, do they still have a game or two each within them to
veteranship
go on? Yeah.
Can they do it? Well, I think Brook Lopez can certainly score on Miles Turner, but he has to. And then on the flip side of it, him playing, Portis playing, all of their guys are old. They got to get back in transition because the Pacers love to run.
Oh, yeah.
And that is one of the weaknesses for the Bucks and one of the things that Doc Rivers tried to address right away. They've definitely been better since he took over for Adrian Griffin, but Milwaukee really struggles against teams that are more athletic, and the Pacers have an athleticism advantage in this one.
Yeah, watch the number of fast break points from Indiana. If they hit 20, they're feeling good. 23-4 when Indiana hit 20 fast break points or more in a game. And you have illustrated before many times, TK, the limitations of Milwaukee because of their age, because of their dedication to like maybe really hustling to get back. They've been killed on that before. Now Beverly's in the starting lineup here. Beverly's going to be a lot of time on Halliburton. He's going to be all up in him, trying to frustrate him. So he's huge, big X factor for Milwaukee. And can he bring the 3-point shot as well? At least keep them honest. And the Pacers, I also have their entire bench as an X factor because they're really good. They've been really good since the All-Star break. A lot of these guys contributing. Some of those bigs, some of the wings. They have a lot of bodies. Rick Carlisle, I think a lot of people are going to be confident he's going to outcoach Doc Rivers maybe here when you get into some X's and O's. So they got that going for them as well. Let's hear your picks. This is a tough one. It's the Giannis factor for sure. Mm-hmm. It's the idea how much stock are you putting into the regular season where the Pacers have had their number. But it's so long ago. Yeah. There's been changes.
There's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, but where are you going?
Yeah, it's tough.
I struggled with this one.
I will say the Bucks do look very different with Patrick Beverley starting beside Damian Lillard, just in terms of an effort level, in terms of getting back against this really, really fast team. This team that likes to play extremely hard. It's going to be different. The Milwaukee Bucks will get back. But then the Pacers, they have the depth that T.J. McConnell can be as pesky as Patrick Beverley in terms of backcourt guys. But I think, considering the Milwaukee Bucks have home court advantage, and they are a really, really good home court team, I think they win it. But a little respect to the Pacers. I'm taking the Bucks in 7. And that'll be a fun series. And I assume Giannis will be back at some point in this series. So he'll be back for the late games, I imagine.
Where are you going?
I'm leaning towards what Tass is saying as well. I think Bucks in 7 actually sounds pretty good, assuming Giannis comes back late. But I don't know. It feels a bit like a coin flip, so I'll do Bucks in 7.
I think this is the first one we've all agreed on. I'm also going Bucks in 7. I'm glad that we don't have a ton that we've all had the exact same. It's tough with the Giannis thing. It truly feels like it'll be Pacers in 6 if they can take care of that game 6 at home, or it will be Milwaukee winning on their home court. I don't know why it feels that way. I'll go with you guys. I will go Bucks in 7 in what could be a very rare 7-game series in the Eastern Conference in the first round.